It's 6:15 a.m., and your alarm blares like every other morning. You roll over, already dreading the sound of the bills stacked on the kitchen counter. The coffee smells good, but it doesn't drown out the tension in your chest. You check your phone and see your bank app. Another month, another reminder of how much goes out before you even blink. Mortgage, car, kids' school fees, gym memberships, streaming subscriptions you forgot you signed up for. You step into the shower, and your mind races. You think, I'm doing everything right. I've got a good job, promotions, a bigger house than I ever imagined. So why does it feel like I'm barely moving forward? You get dressed, tie your tie, glance at your reflection in the mirror, and see a man who looks successful, maybe even a little proud. But underneath, there's a creeping unease. That quiet voice whispering, what if all of this isn't enough? And here's the uncomfortable part. It's not that you're lazy or careless. You've worked harder than most, but somewhere along the line, the choices that seemed smart, buying the bigger house, financing the car you always wanted, agreeing to tuition payments, have started quietly tightening a noose around your financial freedom. And that's exactly why you're stuck. Not because you aren't earning enough, not because you aren't disciplined, but because there are traps most men fall into between 35 and 45. Traps nobody warns you about. Hey, I'm Brian, and I spend way too much time thinking about how men in their late 30s and early 40s get trapped financially. Not because they're reckless, but because the world tells them the right moves. Bigger house, newer car, private school for the kids. I've studied the patterns, tracked the numbers, and yes, I've made some of these mistakes myself. Today, I want to do something a little different. I'm not going to talk about how to make more money overnight or sell you some financial hack. What I will do is break down the biggest financial traps men fall into between 35 and 45. Traps that silently eat away at your freedom, your flexibility, and your peace of mind. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why earning more hasn't necessarily made your life easier, what to watch for in the next decade, and how to start reclaiming control without feeling like you're depriving yourself or your family. If this resonates, hit that subscribe button. Give this video a like. It helps me keep making content like this, and it tells me you're ready to think differently about money. Here's the tricky part. Most guys think the problem is income. If I just made a little more, things would be fine, they say. Or maybe it's timing. If I can just invest more later, I'll catch up. And here's where things get dangerous, because the real problem is invisible. It's not how much you make. It's what you do with what you make, often without even realizing it. Think about it. You've got a decent salary, a home that looks great on the outside, and a car that turns heads. On paper, you're winning. But behind the scenes, the choices that seem like upgrades, bigger mortgage, luxury car payments, tuition, fancy vacations, are quietly ratcheting up your monthly obligations. Your break-even point, the amount you need just to keep the lights on, has crept higher and higher. And that's exactly the point. The traps aren't flashy or obvious. They feel like smart moves. They feel responsible. And because they're subtle, they compound slowly, silently eroding your financial freedom. In this video, we'll break down the 4 biggest traps men fall into between 35 and 45. We'll explore why they're so appealing, what they cost you over time, and how to start stepping off the treadmill before it's too late. Trap 1. Lifestyle creep. The first trap is lifestyle creep. This is the subtle but powerful phenomenon where, as your income grows, your lifestyle expands to match it. Bigger house, newer car, more expensive vacations. On paper, it looks like success. But here's the part people don't talk about. It's a trap. Because every upgrade permanently increases your monthly obligations, often without adding real financial value. Let me give you some numbers. Say your salary jumps from $85,000 to $120,000. You upgrade from a modest $250,000 home to a $450,000 mortgage. Your car goes from a reliable sedan to a $40,000 SUV financed over 6 years. Add private school tuition of $15,000 a year, and suddenly your monthly break-even point, the minimum you need to cover obligations, is $5,500 instead of $3,000. That's $2,500 less every month that could have gone to savings, investments, or building optionality. Psychologically, lifestyle creep feels smart. It feels deserved. You worked hard, and now you're treating yourself. I'll admit it, I've been there. I thought I was upgrading my life, but in reality, I was ratcheting up stress and reducing flexibility. Over 10 or 20 years, these choices compound quietly. You think you're richer, but you're actually more locked in. Trap 2. Financing comfort over flexibility. The second trap is financing comfort over flexibility. This is where you trade future freedom for present comfort, financing high-cost items to enjoy now rather than saving or investing for later. For example, you buy that $40,000 car on a 6-year loan with a 5% interest rate. That's roughly $650 a month for 6 years. Feels reasonable, right? But let's look at the numbers over time. If you instead invested that $650 a month at an average 7% annual return for 20 years, you'd have nearly $400,000. That's the cost of comfort today versus freedom tomorrow. This trap works because humans are wired for instant gratification. We like visible rewards, social approval, and the sense of status. I can already hear some guys pushing back. I need that car. I earned it. Sure you did. But here's what I want you to understand. Temporary comfort can quietly erase decades of potential financial growth. Trap 3. Raising break-even points. The third trap is raising break-even points. Every obligation you add, whether it's co-signing a loan for a family member, committing to private school, or agreeing to a bigger mortgage, pushes up the minimum you need just to stay afloat. Let's do the math. Imagine your base monthly expenses are $3,500. You add a $1,500 mortgage increase and $500 in new obligations. Now your break-even is $5,500. That $2,000 increase doesn't just disappear. It dictates your career choices, limits risk-taking, and amplifies stress. Psychologically, it feels responsible. You're providing, securing, and planning ahead. But here's where it gets dangerous. Every extra obligation narrows your options. A raise doesn't free you. It just fuels the higher baseline you now must meet. Over a decade, these small increases can make financial freedom feel permanently out of reach. Trap 4. Mistaking income for wealth. The fourth trap is mistaking income for wealth. Earning more doesn't automatically mean you're building wealth. This is the trap that gets high-earning men who feel stuck. Paychecks rise, lifestyle rises, and suddenly there's nothing left to save. Here's the uncomfortable part. Even earning $150,000 a year, if your spending scales with income, your net worth might stagnate. According to recent surveys, 57% of men earning 6 figures admit they aren't confident about having enough saved for retirement. That's not because they're lazy. It's because the illusion of wealth hides real financial stagnation. The psychology is simple. Income feels tangible. You see it. You deposit it. But wealth is invisible. It's what you keep, what grows, and what compounds. I've caught myself in this trap, celebrating bigger raises while my actual savings barely moved. Over 20 years, this misalignment can mean the difference between retiring at 55 with freedom or at 65 barely keeping up with obligations. If you're new here and just subscribed, comment your name below. I read every comment and shout out new subscribers in my next video. I do appreciate you joining me on this finance journey. So why are men between 35 and 45 uniquely vulnerable to these traps? First, income levels are deceptively high. You're earning more than ever, but that higher paycheck masks inefficiency. It's easy to believe you're doing fine when your expenses have silently caught up to your earnings. This is the psychological trap. More money feels like more security, even when it isn't. Second, time pressure is intense. Between career growth, family responsibilities, and societal expectations, reflection is scarce. You're too busy executing to step back and ask, am I making choices that build freedom or just appearances? Third, and this is crucial, responsibility feels like maturity. Taking on bigger mortgages, tuition payments, and lifestyle upgrades seems like the adult thing to do. Questioning those choices feels risky or even irresponsible. Finally, cognitive biases amplify the effect. The sunk cost fallacy, comparison bias, and social pressure all combine to make traps feel invisible. By the time many realize, the consequences are already baked into their financial structure. That's exactly why understanding these traps now matters. This decade is pivotal. The decisions you make, or don't make, between 35 and 45 will echo for the next 20 to 30 years, shaping not just wealth, but stress, freedom, and life satisfaction. So what happens if these traps go unchecked? Let's break down the real costs: financial, psychological, and existential. First, the financial cost. Delayed compounding is brutal. Let me give you some numbers. If you invest $500 a month starting at 35, at an average 7% annual return, you'll have about $500,000 by the time you're 65. Start that same $500 a month at 45 instead, and you end up with just $220,000. That's less than half. And that's assuming everything else stays constant. No lifestyle creep, no extra obligations. Those small monthly choices compound quietly, either building or eroding decades of freedom. Second, the psychological cost. High break-even points, constant payments, and lifestyle obligations create chronic stress. You wake up thinking about bills, work, and responsibilities. Sleep suffers. Health suffers. Relationships suffer. You might be outwardly successful, but internally you feel trapped, stretched, and anxious. Finally, the existential cost. You look around at your life and wonder, did I make the right choices? Am I free? You might have the bigger house, the nicer car, and the respect of peers, but freedom, flexibility, and real control over your time are missing. That feeling of being stuck despite apparent success is one of the hardest costs to measure, but it's real and it's heavy. So how do you step out of this? How do you reclaim control, reduce stress, and actually grow wealth instead of just appearances? That's where actionable strategies come in. I want to be realistic here. I'm not going to tell you to sell your house, quit your job, or skip caring for your family. These solutions aren't radical. They're deliberate, psychological, and actionable steps to reclaim control. First, audit your monthly obligations, not just your discretionary spending. Most men focus on how much can I cut from coffee and streaming. But it's the fixed commitments, mortgage, car payments, tuition, that dictate flexibility. Write down every recurring payment. Ask yourself, which ones truly serve my goals, and which ones are just habits or appearances? Cutting or refinancing even $500 to $1,000 a month can free hundreds of thousands over decades through investment and compounding. Second, separate identity from lifestyle. It's easy to define success by the car you drive or the neighborhood you live in. The problem is, your mind equates spending with accomplishment. Start small. Delay an upgrade. Drive your current car another year. Question the need for a bigger house. Psychologically, this builds freedom and reduces decision fatigue without sacrificing happiness. Third, reclaim optionality one decision at a time. Optionality is the ability to say yes or no without feeling trapped. That might mean saying no to a loan cosign, postponing a private school decision, or creating an emergency fund large enough to cover 3 to 6 months of expenses. Each choice chips away at the invisible chains of obligations. Fourth, keep your break-even point intentionally low. The lower your baseline monthly needs, the more flexibility you have to invest, take calculated risks, or even pivot careers if you want. If your baseline is $5,500 a month, life feels tight. If you can get it down to $3,500 to $4,000, suddenly opportunities that seemed risky now feel doable. And here's the beauty. This doesn't just reduce stress, it opens doors. Financial flexibility lets you invest, take sabbaticals, or even negotiate work from home. It lets you be present with your family without anxiety gnawing at you. The goal isn't deprivation. It's control, freedom, and growth that compounds quietly, just like money in the bank. Now, I want to be honest with you. This isn't a quick fix. You might be thinking, but Brian, I've already made these choices. Am I too far gone? The answer is no. It's never too late, but the longer you wait, the more time these traps have to compound against you. Let me give you some numbers. Reducing your break-even point by just $1,000 a month through cutting or refinancing obligations could free up $12,000 a year. Invest that at 7% annual growth over 20 years, and you're looking at over $500,000. That's the power of reclaiming optionality and controlling your baseline. It's not flashy, but it's real. Real wealth isn't about the newest car, the biggest house, or fancy status symbols. Real wealth is flexibility. It's the freedom to make choices without being chained to payments. It's the ability to take a career risk, spend a summer with your family, or invest when the opportunity arises. Here's what I want you to take away. Every small decision matters. Every dollar of obligations you trim, every upgrade you pause, every monthly expense you scrutinize compounds into years of freedom, peace of mind, and options. It's not glamorous, but it's the kind of wealth that lasts. And the good news? You can start today. Let's wrap this up. The biggest financial traps, lifestyle creep, financing comfort over flexibility, raising break-even points, and mistaking income for wealth, aren't obvious. They look smart. They feel responsible. But left unchecked, they quietly erode freedom, options, and peace of mind. Here's one immediate action you can take this week. Audit every recurring obligation in your life. Write it down. Look at what you actually need versus what you're paying for appearances or habit, and identify at least one adjustment that frees up cash. It could be refinancing a loan, delaying an upgrade, or cutting a non-essential subscription. I want to hear from you. Which of these traps do you see yourself in right now? Comment below. It helps others realize they're not alone, and it holds you accountable too. If this video helped you see money differently, give it a like, and subscribe for more insights into financial freedom and life design. Remember, this isn't about earning more. It's about making the choices that actually give you control over your life. Start small, start today, and watch how freedom compounds.